Hello everybody, Mark Schaftlein with you, and this is the Schaftlein Report. It's Wednesday's edition, and we're broadcasting from West Hartford, Connecticut and Irvine, California. Joe Visconti, you were up late last night celebrating a great victory. Share with our viewers and listeners what it was like at Leora's celebration for winning the primary last night.
Wow. I got to tell you, I'm wearing a straw hat because it's been 104 degrees in Connecticut for like a week. And the turnout was unbelievable, 20%. Got my Magnum PI Hawaiian shirt on. I'm just crazy. It's been such a hard campaign that we've been working here in Connecticut. And the celebration in Greenwich last night, I stayed over, was just, was really, she's so authentic. I want America to meet Leora Levy. You've got to meet her. She's so authentic. I've known her for about 10 or 12 years. I ran into her in Israel when they moved the embassy. I was over there. And we've crossed paths many times. We had a little bump in the road when she kind of went with Jeb in 16, but she came around to Trump and worked her butt off fundraising. Her husband's a great guy, Steve Levy. And so last night was a small group of about 100 people in Greenwich at the Hyatt. And you never know how these votes are going to turn out. Everyone was saying this, and there was a third candidate in the race who's run many times, and we thought he may bump Leora out. And I was actually going to help. Themis is her name. Themis Claridis. I was going to help her, but she wouldn't go away from hitting Trump. Yeah. I said, I can stay away on the issues for you. She was pro-choice and, really kind of half and half on guns. I've known her forever, but she just wouldn't stop it. I says, you can't win in November and I can't help you if you hit Trump. And so there's been this thing. Basically, the conservatives, this is a huge coalition. So I want people to understand how Connecticut will be won in November. Leora Levy is a conservative purist, not just Trump. She's pro-life. She's pro-Second Amendment. She escaped from communist Cuba as a child with her family. She fell into a lot of money with her husband and all hard work and education as in Wall Street. And she's putting her money back out there. But Leora, when she came out in Connecticut on the ground, she's a novice, first race ever. She pulled the groups together. And half of our anti-vax group is Democrats that couldn't vote yesterday. So she has the people that want parental rights. She has the NRA, gun groups. She has Peter Wolfgang from the Family Institute of Connecticut came in late. She has a huge, broad coalition and 30% to 40% of the establishment, but she's appealing to the 1 million unaffiliated voters in Connecticut. Very important. This is not a blue state. 1 million unaffiliated, almost 500,000 Republicans and 900,000 Democrats. This is winnable. We had a governor 3 times almost win within 25,000 votes. Yeah. It's always close here, but because the Republicans act like Democrats, people stay home in Connecticut. They've always thought they just need to keep crossing the aisle. Yeah. I'll let you jump in here and ask me some questions.
No, my sense, Joe, and I'm going to give you credit. Before the primary, you told our audience what the turnout was going to be, and turnout was really important. It turned out roughly 20%. And we had Leora on the show a couple days before the primary last Thursday. Every position she took fit right in line with MAGA, Make America Great Again, and a true conservative. And we've said over and over, if people will stick to their values, which she clearly did. I mean, it came across, Joe, she really believes what she says, and that's really refreshing for a politician. So
she's authentic, and that's what people want. And there's going to be a lot of vote splitting this coming November in Connecticut. But I predict she will win this. It'll be a shock to you, just like it was a shock last night and a shock when Trump won, because we have now, as you know, I don't have to beat the dead horse of the Democrats have destroyed us. And I think we'll talk about the numbers later, but I just think the economy is much worse than they're even trying to prop it up as. But sticking to Leora Levy, please go to her website. You'll see all about her. I'm on the ground with her team. I'm an outside operative because it's best on horseback for me to be what I do than be inside and saddled down with campaign restrictions. And a lot of a group of us, like we were on a a diner in Stamford, Connecticut last night, 2 a.m. All the operatives that are, we call ourselves Smash Mouth. We just go in and we take memes, and we are on social media, every platform, pulling in people from everywhere. And it's just really that energized her. We tenderized the opposition, the establishment in Connecticut, and Trump came in a few days early of the election, and he just finished it off. But
Yeah,
there was
well,
tender.
when she was on Schaftlein Report last Thursday, I think roughly 4 or 5 hours later, Trump did endorse. And I think that was a big deal. And then obviously when the events, the raid at Trump's house in Mar-a-Lago motivated conservatives to get out and vote. And again, last I saw the figures, I don't know if it was final or not, Joe, maybe you can add insight to it. She was like at 50.4%.
All night long. This is important in Connecticut, all night for the Republicans. All night long. It was 39 for Themis, and 9% for the third candidate.
Right.
And it was Leora from 50 to 52 all night long. It never changed, which tells you, very important, that across the state of Connecticut, which is a lot of rural people with horses, is not what people think. It's not a really blue state. It's that Republicans have decided years ago that they were going to play nice in a sandbox and be Connecticut Republicans, almost like the Grey Poupon, and just disregard what was going on in the world. And the message that Leora really said, and this is really important for blue state people, you could lose everything. In Connecticut, there are no federal congressmen or senators, no governor, lieutenant governor, comptroller, treasurer, secretary, nothing. We have no state offices or federal. We could lose everything and be who we are.
Yeah.
We've lost everything to be half of what the Dems are. Nobody wants to come out and vote for Democrat light.
Yeah, my sense, Joe, is that come November, I mean, Blumenthal, last I looked, and polling's very sketchy. He's seeking his third term. He's running in a state where Joe Biden is underwater. Blumenthal himself, 45% approval rating in arguably what's been a blue state, okay? I think if you have an incumbent sitting at 45% and you have a president, Joe Biden, that's sitting at 40%, a little higher in the state of Connecticut, and Leora, who is sticking to her convictions as a true conservative, I think she's going to bring out the solid Republican vote, because I can't see Republicans, even the ones, the moderates, voting for Dick Blumenthal, because he is a guaranteed vote for Schumer and Biden 100% of the time.
He's also hateable, like our former governor that I ran against, Dan Malloy. They're hateable. Yeah. Governor Lamont, Ned Lamont, he's a Democrat. He's not hateable. So the challenge is for Bob running against him. There's going to be ticket splitters. I think a lot of people will just stick with Lamont, but they won't like to stick with Blumenthal. He's old. He's done more to harm the one. He's just hateable. But getting back to the numbers for a moment, so you understand what's happening here. Yeah. The turnout was 20%, so they can't say it was something anomaly, even though it was very hot out. And Leora did something. This is a national race. All eyes will be on this race. They didn't want her running. Steve, her husband, told me last night, the inside stuff, the Democrats are petrified. They're from Greenwich. They're very wealthy. They are petrified she's going to take it to Blumenthal and Biden and everything they've done to our country. She stood up last night on live TV, national, and said, a boy's a boy, a girl's a girl. Right. A boy doesn't belong in a girl's locker room or in a girl's sports. Nobody wants to harm transgender. Everybody should have the rights, but they're trying to groom our children and take our rights away and our privacy. This is between this and energy costs there'll be no Christmas for millions of Americans filling up your oil tank. There's a few different key things she put out. And I believe, I've been here 20 years and I got a feeling, I had one getting on her team, that this is going to happen. It's not a guesswork. I can see the magic happening because the public has to be excited and believe that the person really is authentic and are going to do what they said. She brings that up. Trump.
Yeah, and if the Republicans believe that she can win, you couple that coalition of Republicans who will make America great again Republicans, along with moderate independents. I think that's a coalition that can defeat Blumenthal. Because
the independents have always helped us because, again, there's a million of them.
Yeah.
Unaffiliated, not independent. They have no party.
Right.
There was also an independent party in Connecticut. Almost 500,000 Republicans and 900,000 Dems. A lot of the 1 million unaffiliated in Connecticut are people that are Republicans that don't want to register because they don't want to get targeted. It's just been going on for 20 years that I've been involved. So that's why Bob for governor last time, and he's coming this time. Tom Foley twice in Connecticut once Foley lost by 6,000 to Malloy. Then he lost 24,000. Bob lost by 45,000. It's this little margin of 2.5 million voters, very small. They can't get over the hump because they really aren't authentic, charismatic, and they don't energize people. So Trump said to Jeb Bush, low energy.
Yeah, well, Leora's got high energy. She is a high energy person. She's got a great story to tell, and I'm really optimistic in this race. I think the media will underestimate her. I really believe that. I think back to last year when in the New Jersey governor's race, Phil Murphy, a reasonably popular governor, won by 2 points. Remember when they had the race last year?
We're here now, and this is important. I know we got to move on to other issues, but wrapping it up is this is going to take it to the Democrat senatorial committees. They're going to have to fight for Blumenthal's life political life, and we are going to take the Senate. This is all about really taking and saving America. And it's right here in the Constitution state is where the war is good, political war is beginning.
Well, if Leora Levy has a good night in Connecticut, it's going to be a great night for the Republicans. And let's move on. Hey, Trump went 4 for 4 last night, okay? I mean, every endorsed candidate that Trump picked, and now some had built-in advantages, obviously, but Leora was a last-minute pick, okay? And she won.
That was everyone was, all conservatives very afraid if she lost, it would tarnish him. And not to just protect him, but we knew he knew more than we knew.
Right.
I knew he knew more about this than I did. And I'm pretty damn smart in Connecticut. I said, what does he know to take this risk? And I said, it's not a risk. He doesn't understand it better than even I do. You can get bogged down in your own stuff when you're on the ground in the trenches, you know?
Yeah, his candidate for governor of Wisconsin came through, so that's going to be an interesting race coming up there. And a friend of Schaftlein Report, Joe Kent, who'd been on the show a couple times, Joe came out and ended up winning. His opponent conceded that race, the 8th in Washington State. Now, Joe Kent's going to be favored against the Democrat to go to Congress. And he is a Trump-endorsed candidate, very conservative. His views and Leora's views are like lock, stock, and barrel together. So congratulations to Joe Kent for Washington State. We want to do everything we can to help both those campaigns because the 2 Schaftlein Report and Joe Visconti endorsed candidates were 2 for 2. Thank you very much. All right, Joe. Let's talk about one that almost, it's not in our side of the fence. Ilhan Omar almost was defeated last night.
Right.
A 2-point win over a political newcomer. I mean, I'm still trying to figure. I mean, this woman's got 3 million Twitter followers. Who the heck are these people?
I think if you said it earlier in Connecticut, if people believe, and this is the difference, and we have a lot of that because you lose so many times, like the Boston Red Sox for 86 years. Well, can we win? You lose the ability to believe and imagine that it could happen. And that, I believe that race is just the beginning of the population up there saying, we could have won. Many people are going to say, I didn't vote. Son of a gun, we could have taken her out. So she'll be taken out next time.
Yeah.
And because the country's going to take years to come back from what they've done to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you have a president like Biden, I saw a couple polls, his approval rating inched up to 40% in that Reuters poll. He was 38 last month. You know, the media is hailing. Joe, I look all around the media landscape. I see people hailing the Biden approval rating. Oh, he's at 40% now. He's moving up. He's had these great accomplishments. We got the chip bill done. We got the Inflation Production Act. It's not a Reduction Act, folks. It should be the Inflation Enhancement Act. You know, we killed a terrorist. You know, and they're propping him up. All these, his poll numbers are rising. No, he got a boost among Democratic voters. Last month, his approval rating in that same Reuters ISOS poll, he was 69% approval among Democrats. He boosted that up to 78. His numbers haven't changed with Republicans and independents. And even today, sitting here, we're 80 days out from the election. He's sitting here at 40% approval, 55% disapproval, Joe Visconti. That is not a winning formula.
Well, it's the same thing the Democrats do, and the public is now onto them. The Affordable Care Act, it was not affordable.
No.
Inflation reduction, it's complete opposite. Everything they say is the opposite of what they do. And the public really is aware now. We've seen that even with the COVID and no matter what, if they didn't know, they didn't know. But to lie and then come out with Burke saying, with Mr. Lady with the scarf saying, we knew it, you knew it, you were lying to us. Wait a minute. Well, when do we believe you? So America right now is fed up with so many pressures that the Democrats, they did it. All they had to do, the Democrats today, if I was an operative, I would have told them, for them, just tell the truth and admit whatever happened and say, we're going to try better. But they can't. They're going to keep lying and twisting and spinning and like a spoiled child.
Joe, put your analyst hat on right now. Okay, you saw what happened. Trump-endorsed candidate wins in Wisconsin. Leora wins in Connecticut. Trump had victories in Arizona previous week. Okay, things are trending politically in the Republicans' direction. How do you think independents are going to react here? There's been a couple bills passed. We know that none of this is going to go into effect prior to the midterms. How are you sensing that the elections are trending right now? You have the media establishment trumpeting, oh, well, the Republicans, they're going to lose the Senate. Again, with no evidence of that. Then they're saying, well, the House is going to be closer. Joe, am I just reading the tea leaves wrong, or are they just deliberately lying to their base to try to get them to come out to vote?
Yeah, it's a complete lie. We take the House by 30, 40, 50. It depends on the each territory. We take the House over. Right now, why the establishment tried so hard. By the way, Themis this morning on the radio, who lost to Leora, said she wouldn't support her.
She would or would not?
Would not.
Themis will not. She will not support Leora?
That's what she said. She's probably bitter this morning, so we got to work on her. But this is what happens. And so they are lying. Better word than lying is that part of it is they're in denial because when they can't believe something's happening, they manufacture stuff. So you could call it lying because it is, but it's a natural reaction to Democrats, the ones who run it, and they look for the next thing to keep their base together. Why? To protect corporate media. Pure and simple, because the corporate media could not keep condoning the lies on these networks and these outlets if it's so they have to put up a shield and know that we'll take the House. The Senate is the thing, because once we take the Senate, Biden will be forced, as you know, to do executive orders to run the country, and those will be shot down in a New York minute by the Supreme Court. So they'll be expediting Biden's craziness. So my feeling and what I see, and I'm in a blue state as you are, so the red states are much more optimistic, but we can talk economic. I think the perfect storm has already happened. What I know is that the left, between the social issues, they're no longer normal, and the IRS agents, the energy in your oil tank in October, which means you can't there's no Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa. Just this perfect storm of grooming children, teaching them about transgender in 3rd, 4th grade. All of it is hitting parents. Not to me. I'm not trying to manufacture. I'm getting the feedback from people. Many people don't want to talk about it, and that's the thing I want to say. People are silent, like the silent majority. People are silent.
But they're going to be out. They will be out voting.
Only the operatives are causing riots on the left.
Yeah, but the people will be out voting, Joe. I can assure you. Republicans are extremely enthused to vote. And after that fiasco raid on Trump's place the other day, I think the enthusiasm gap is going to be large, and Republicans will come out and vote.
Well, Mark, what that is, I came up with this today. I was getting a cup of coffee, and I went, oh, my God. And here's what it is. Here's a soundbite of why they did what they did, pure and simple, for no other reasons.
Yeah.
In their mind, he raided their house, the U.S. Capitol, and they're going to raid his house. That's exactly what this is.
That's right. Let me go back to Biden just a second here. I mean, I assume you saw that ceremony. Even liberals on Twitter were aghast at what they saw. I mean, look, we wish the president health, but man, he couldn't get through. He just coughing his head, just couldn't hardly finish a sentence. And the cognitive decline. I'll be generous here. Sticking his hand out to shake somebody's hand who'd already shaken him. I mean, look, a lot of people are concerned about the president's mental health. I'm going to give you some statistics. 39% of Democrats are concerned about it. 56% of independents and 82% of Republicans. Joe, that cognitive concern, again, I'm not a doctor, I don't want to play one, but boy, it's really out there in the public's mind. They see the weakness and the feebleness, and it doesn't give you a great deal of confidence level. We'll see how these midterms plan out, but Joe, I gotta believe if you're right, and you've been a little more aggressive in your prognostications than I have, I cannot see him running, particularly if they get beat in the House and the Senate.
They will be beating the House and the Senate. I believe they'll replace him, and he'll be out after New Year's when they swear the new between the New Year's and swearing in the new Congress. They're going to have to put Kamala in there. There's no two ways about it. They don't want to, but everything's going to unravel, and they're going to need to have something more that they can put out. His problem, his medical problem, is escalating again. Everybody always liked Joe Biden. You knew he was full of you know what.
Right.
And you knew in the old days he could do that differently. It was all the showmanship of Tip O'Neill. That all changed even a couple of years ago. But his cognitive ability, never mind the crime part and things we believe, but it's not all this other nonsense. The reality is nobody wants to see that. And they're not afraid that the country that he can't make a decision. They know he's not running the country. So he is not the president. And the Democrats' problem, you know this, is they don't want to put Kamala in there, but I believe that's coming, and they're not going to let him go through 2 years. 2 years of making so many blunders, and all of his Rhodes Scholars behind him making blunders with no practical experience. The Supreme Court shooting down those rules in 30 days that he puts in, and nobody at the helm.
Yeah. All right, now let's talk about the 800-pound elephant in the room here. The brushback, the fallout from Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray's decision to raid Trump's residence, it is reverberating well across party lines here. I mean, Senator Josh Hawley came out and he said, Garland needs to be impeached or resign. Even Mitch McConnell has come out and said, hey, we got to get to the bottom of this. What was the basis for this? And it's not just Hawley and McConnell. All across the political spectrum, people are saying, what necessitated this type of action? Joe, you've been speaking to the Corey Lewandowskis and some of people in Trump's inner circle. Give our viewers and listeners some perspective, from the inside about, what the heck is going on here.
Yeah, the Andrew Cuomo, if you missed it yesterday, former governor of New York, came out and said what you just said, Josh Hawley. What is going on here? He put out two tweets. One was a little, we need to know more because of January 6th, but the first tweet was, this is wrong, something's up, this can't be done, and blindly you have to tell the public, it's eroding confidence. Go look at the tweet, Andrew Cuomo. So everyone knows the rule of law was one thing. Precedents of 250 years of running, and the lawyers and tort reform, I believe, are petrified that if you can start completely undermining all the procedures, that they're going to, what the Bar Association and all that monster at every level is going to be subject to kangaroo courts, and the system is going to fall apart. Judges, we're seeing the judges that are politicized. So I think the bar, I'll just call it the American Bar Association, the American Civil Liberties Union, are looking at everything. They're not going to say this, and they're determining soon that something's got to be done to make sure we have the rule of law, or they're all out of business.
Yeah, I concur with you. I mean, here's my take on what happened the other day, and this isn't just speaking for Republicans or independents. I know some Democrats feel this way too. Not the hardcore radical leftist. I'm not talking about them. They're a different breed. But I'm talking about your mainstream Republican, MAGA Republicans, your independents, and some traditional liberal Democrats. They're saying to themselves, my God, if this can happen to Trump, it could happen to me. And I think people are sensing that. And then, Joe...
Well, they are, but many of them that I'm talking to in the outer circles are, because there was supposedly some leaking aid, then people start to get doubts. Was there a crime done? The boxes were pulled out. Nothing was documented publicly. Right. There could be a manufactured crime by a Andrew McCabe kind of FBI guy that slides a piece of paper in there.
Yeah,
And this is where we really are. So the processes of law, and not just the court systems, subpoenas, FISA, everything has been completely shredded. In Trump, it's amazing that his presidency and his ascension to presidency and his post-presidency right now have shown the Cohen relationship between client and attorney. When they took Cohen and they sat down a Democrat, Republican lawyers to look at all of Cohen's communications with his client, they broke ethical.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to the trust issue, Joe, and that's the problem. I mean, look, if the FBI and the Department of Justice would explain what's going on to the American public, maybe they could shed some light on it. But right now, these darkroom tactics and hard, cloaked in dagger tactics, they're not flying well. I mean, just yesterday, you had Scott Perry, the head of the Freedom Caucus, Republican. He had his cell phone taken from him. 3 FBI agents come up to him, take his cell phone. His lawyer was never notified, nothing. What's this part of the January 6th investigation?
Look at Navarro. Never mind, Project Veritas. Illegally, they went in to grab the phone because they wanted to look on the phone. Like the Cohen, when I was telling you about Cohen Trump years ago, they were able to look. And if a Democrat operative is looking, working as a lawyer at these things, I'm going to trust his ethics, that he's not seeing all the business dealings of Trump, his communications with an attorney. Right. You're seeing that right now with the same thing happening with evidence. Well, so if we can keep giving these FBI agents rewards and promotions after they commit crimes in front of Congress and nothing's done, what processes anymore? It's all corrupted. It's the what do you call it, the fruit of a poison tree, or what was that?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's bad. And when if the citizens lose trust in the FBI and the Justice Department, again,
and voting,
right,
and CDC, and everything, there's no more trust and faith. We're at that turning point where it still can be saved, the trust.
Sure, it could,
or it's going to be gone. And so I don't like what Kevin McCarthy's saying, and a lot of them I like what they're saying, but I don't. Where when we get a hold, we're going to investigate. That's all nice, but the reality is now we're going to do what they did.
Yeah, no, we don't do what
we don't have the statesmen anymore, like Newt Gingrich. We don't have the statesmen like Tip O'Neill. We don't have those men of ethics who knew the system and would at least work together. There is no working together. It's just venom and animosity between both sides, and it's like a bad divorce.
All right, let's talk a little economics, Joe. Look, the CPI came out today, 8.5%. It's being praised on Wall Street. I understand why they thought it was going to be a little bit higher, but it peaked at 9.1 in June. We hope it peaked. Came down to 8.5%. That still is way elevated over a year ago. I mean, now some of the culprits bringing it down. Airline tickets came down some. That's good news. Gasoline prices came down. Average price of a gas a month ago was $5.01 a gallon. Now it's $4.01. Folks, that's still up 44% year over year. Joe, my big concern with these numbers wasn't exactly the consumer price index. I expected that to come down. I'd been talking about it for the past few weeks. I was a little concerned that when you exclude food and energy, and again, we mock that, but it's true, that came in right at 6%. That's actually 5.9. It's 390 basis points above the Fed's goal. And there's a lot of sticky stuff here that is still very expensive. Rents, food prices, car prices, used car prices, services prices. Joe, Wall Street is celebrating today, but the average American is still feeling the pain of this inflation. I sense they're going to vote their pocketbooks come November.
I think they will, but if you get back to the numbers, and I'm not sure if they can recorrect those next month, but I don't buy into that. Quickly in 30 days, everything's shifting. I just don't buy into that you could have that quick of a response on any of these markets, from energy, even the energy part. People are already, this is what's really important. People are broke. They can't pay their credit cards that they were carrying themselves on because of the high cost of inflation.
Yeah, they're
now panicking. Evictions, foreclosures, all of it will pile on. There will be no Christmas for tens of millions of Americans. They won't be able, they can't use their credit card. They can't use Amazon. You'll see, you look at the Amazon, not stock, but the numbers, the purchasing. The young people may carry, older people on fixed income won't. We have an underground economy, let's call it like a CPI, that is unknown, and because they're not factoring in what people can pay tomorrow. So it won't even matter if it comes to 8.5%. Nobody's got money.
Yeah, that's a problem because credit card usage is up 13% this year. Those balances are incurring higher interest rates. 70% of the American public is living paycheck to paycheck. That's a problem.
What that means for voting, as you know all this stuff already. But your viewers and listeners, what it means for voting is they're running out of money, and they're not people on welfare.
Right.
So
these are middle income Americans.
You're going to see energy assistance like you've never seen it this winter because they're going to have to. And when you do energy assistance, people have to give up their taxes to the town or the area, and they have to expose themselves. Now they're tethered to the state even more. They become another ward of the state, basically, and people don't want to fall into that needy. There's many people don't feel, I want to make it through, and they can't. So I think you're going to have a huge uptick in people that are falling into, let's call it the safety net of the social, the government services over the winter. That stuff may never be reported.
Yeah.
Mixed in with CPI.
Yeah, no, I understand, but I mean, the gas price decline is real. There's no guarantee it's going to stay there, though, because if China comes back online and they stop these ridiculous COVID policies that they've got, demand for oil will increase. Oil's sitting here now about $90 a barrel, Joe. It's come down from $125 to $130. I'm going to give you a nightmare scenario. China starts coming back online. The Russian-Ukraine war continues to drag on. Demand picks up in this country. Oil prices come back up, and you see a spike in prices. That's the nightmare scenario, and that's a real possibility. The other thing that's going to happen is people on Wall Street were debating, is the Fed going to raise 50 or 75 basis points? Yesterday, the odds were by 2/3 that they were going to raise 75 basis points versus 50. After these numbers came out, now it's flipped completely. 1/3 chance of a 75 rate hike, 2/3 50. My personal belief all along has been Jerome Powell will hike 50 basis points in the September meeting. They're going to try to get to what's called a terminal rate of about 3.5%. I think it's going to have to go higher because even though we got a dip in inflation for this month, other factors are settling in underneath it, one of which could be wage growth. And right now, with the inflation running where it is, Joe, consumers' wages aren't keeping up with that inflation rate, and I think it's a real problem.
It is. Price of money, the price of energy or oil. Those are the two factors, and they won't drill, so they're being forced to raise your interest rates, which is going to again have an effect where people are already strapped out. If the interest rates are high, then your credit card interest rates will be 30%. It's like cannibalizing yourself financially, and that's a lot of people. And a lot of states in the blue states, which is, again, why you're seeing the migration to the warmer states. It's going to continue. They're shipping illegals to our state, and there are people that live here going down to Florida and down south.
Yeah, your blue states are getting bluer, and your red states are getting redder. Hey, you catch that news about Ukraine? I mean, attacking those planes in Crimea? I mean, boy, the Ukrainians are taking it to the Russians here, and not just on the Russians' battlefront, but going after airplanes in Crimea. Your thoughts on that, Joe?
I think the armament and the things that we're sending the Ukraine and the forces that are there being trained are probably going to start doing this guerrilla tactic where they're coming out. What took down Russia out of Afghanistan, I think, is happening here, and that becomes guerrilla. The only answer to that is keep bombing innocent people. If the Russians Russia does that, it's just we're at that point. But I think the Russia, China, oil, I think even in Europe with the oil, the market will win.
Yeah.
Market conditions for the price of oil will be a breaking point on consumers. And at one point, the OPEC, the whole world will know, the energy world, you got to come down. Enough of the politics. They played this for the last year and a half. And I think Europe, it won't survive if they keep shutting it
Yeah,
down.
Europe's going to have a problem because of they have what's called a winter in Europe. And I know the people in Connecticut, your state, are going to have a problem, buying home heating oil. Those costs are way up. Europeans may not be able to get gas. They're going to have rationing. They're already turning off lights at certain times of the evening. They're rationing electricity in Europe. It's going to get worse this winter. Joe, the other thing I noticed, a little headline came out. The Biden administration is ending the Remain in Mexico policy. That came out. No surprise at all there, because a district judge that had issued basically a temporary restraining order. When the Supreme Court green-lighted it, that was just a matter of time, and now we're into the time period. That's changing. That's going to mean more asylum seekers are going to be coming in this country. I thought, Greg Abbott in Texas doesn't seem to care what the mayor of D.C. or the mayor of New York do, because he's continuing to bus the illegal aliens to New York and Washington, D.C. And you mentioned earlier, you're seeing a lot more illegals in Connecticut now. Tell me about that.
Yeah, they're flying them into Westchester County. New York City is loaded with them. They're dispersing them, so no one knows where they are. They're living on it's warm out, so living on park benches. They're overflowing New York, coming right over into Connecticut. We have a city called Stamford, which is there's Greenwich and Stamford when you enter Connecticut. So New Haven is a huge sanctuary city. So it's only 40 miles from downtown Manhattan to 45 miles to New Haven, and they're bringing them in there. If you're in New Haven along Interstate 95, right on the Long Island Sound, there's a place where all the food trucks line up, from South American, Mexican food, and it's just the center of it all. So they all know where to go to try to find homes. So they've been flooding into Connecticut. They've been flooding into Massachusetts. It's a short ride. You're out in Texas or California, 200 miles, but you can go from New York, Westchester, up to Boston. It's 150 miles, and they can spread out through all those cities like Waterbury, and they're everywhere. We hear it. There's no tracking it because they're just dumping them.
Right.
And they're mostly white. I'm not white. They're mostly young men.
Hey, Joe, we got a minute. We got 1 minute left. Okay, let's close out. I want to close out with your commentary and predictions here. The betting markets now, this isn't political analysts or anything like that. The betting markets now have moved Ron DeSantis, 23% chance, Trump 20%, to be the Republican nominee based upon all the events of this week. I have a funny suspicion you adamantly disagree with what the betting markets are saying.
I wish I could say why I know Trump is running, but I can't put it public. Yeah. But some moves were made, and I know what they are. He's definitely running. Yeah. And I think today's testimony is the thing that he has. I mentioned this to you before. You kind of poo-pooed it on me, but I think getting this over with this evaluation of property crime and then borrowing money on the property, lowering taxes on his real estate, that needs to end and be wrapped up. Why? Because when you run for president, you got to get all your values and boxes of values by accountants on values of real estate that are right now part of this criminal investigation. So now you're going to come out with a new set of values while they're trying to arrest you and put you in jail for what they're saying you did then. This is why he hasn't run. Period. He hasn't run. This has to be over first.
My sense is he is going to run. My sense is also he will announce it. The big debate is before or after the midterms. My gut feeling, Joe, tells me it's going to be sometime prior to the midterms. You would know more than that. We'll talk about that.
I believe it'll happen when this is resolved, because they haven't decided, the grand jury, sat down today. If they try to move forward to indict him on this stuff, which is not provable. I mean, you're just not going to be able to people put values down. But this is the last straw. So if they don't move forward with indictment, I think he will run after November midterms. It's the smart thing to do. Yeah. DeSantis, I believe, is not stupid. He's running for governor.
Yeah, he's not going to do anything until after the midterms, for sure.
He's not going to step on the MAGA crowd. We love him, but at the same time, it's not his time yet. Yeah. He's the future of the Republican Party. He'll definitely be president of the United States.
Listen, from DeSantis' perspective, he's in a great position. He can see how everything plays itself out. If Trump announces, great. Whether Trump announces or not, I think there will be some people that run. I don't know whether Ron DeSantis is going to run or not. That'll be for a decision after the midterms. Joe, hey, thanks for the analysis today. It's great. Your political operative analyst hat on. I just love it. Everything you predicted about the race with Leora came true. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to Leora Levy. I think she's got a fighting chance to beat Dick Blumenthal.
I'll call her. We'll get her on your show again.
Absolutely. All right, that's it for today, folks. Thanks a lot for viewing. It's I can tell you, every day we have so much fun. And again, my real appreciation. We've had great guests on, including Joe this week. Your support is really appreciated. Thanks for everything. We'll cut through the propaganda. See you on Thursday. Have a good one.